Where do you stand on all of this?
I don't think we should be deregulating childcare. That goes against my instincts. I would usually say, if prices are too high, let's look at deregulation. But I think this is the one area where I would say, no, we need more government investment. I think we should just put as much as we can into this, especially after the lockdown. I think we should put everything into children. Let's help them hire more staff so that you can actually have higher teacher-to-child ratios. I would actually go the other way. I don't think you should have 5 children to 1 adult. I would even have smaller ratios if you could.
Jeevan, do you think it makes a difference, 1 to 4, 1 to 5?
Well, this I can't speak to, right? I'm not sure which would be the best policy in that particular regard. I'm not an expert in the area. What I do know is that it is far too expensive, childcare in this country. We have the highest in the OECD. You mentioned earlier those without children, should they pay higher taxes or fund it? Look, I don't have children, but I also believe that everybody in this country should have free, affordable childcare. It's very high quality. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So you're comfortable with paying for my child to go to nursery?
Absolutely. It's one of the best investments.
Well, I tell you what, Jeevan, it's quite expensive. If you don't mind, then I might send you my bill at the moment, and we don't need to wait for the government to create this as a policy. If you want to chip in, do it for now if you want.
You should absolutely do so. I mean, not me myself, Michelle, you're much richer than I am, obviously.
Oh,
but in terms of free childcare, absolutely, it's one of the best investments you can make in this country. It's the biggest return you can imagine. We know how important those early years are for the rest of your career and your life. Those children will grow up, they'll work and they'll do great things, absolutely.
So before I bring you in, Ali, I do want to just test your theory a little bit. So you say free for all children, so I can have 6 children and you'll still pay for free all of them?
The same way you pay the free childcare when they go to school. Yes, you do say, by the way, this early years education. I think you should have free early years education.
Full-time?
Full-time.
Full-time, free childcare for as many kids as I want to have, paid for by you, the taxpayer, even if you don't have kids. What do you think to Jeevan's suggestion? Yes, no, tell me. Ali, where do you sit on it all?
Oh, look, the government doesn't have any money, so it's trying to find ways of easing the burden for families without, raising taxes or borrowing more. And this is one of the things it's come out with. Now, there's a ratio of 5 to 1 in Scotland, one carer for 5 kids. At the moment in the UK, it's, or at least in England rather, it's 1 to 4. I don't think it sounds to me like it's that much of an incremental increase. But look, we've also got to be honest with ourselves.
What, an extra 2-year-old running around?
Look, I mean, if they can manage it in Scotland, I think we can manage it here.
Oof.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. And I do accept your point, Michelle, that 2-year-olds are very difficult to manage. I have a niece of 3, actually, and I know how difficult it is. But look, the reality is that we have to be honest with ourselves. If we want to have the kind of Nordic levels of investment here, the best places in the world to bring up kids in the early years are places like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, etc. But then they have much smaller populations and they invest much more heavily in this particular area. In Sweden, for example, you get 16 months paid parental leave if your child is born. We don't have that kind of thing here. So it's partly cultural, it's partly investment. At the moment, given where the fiscal situation is, I don't think we've got many choices. The problem with this policy, however, is that if childminders or nurseries that are doing this don't pass on the cost savings to the actual end consumer, that's a problem. But in a free market, you can't force them to do that. So the extra money that they get in from that, taking that 5th child, you would hope that they would reduce costs across the board or at least keep them stable. But they might invest in capital expenditure equipment. They might do loads of, they might increase wages for their staff, which is also very important. So you can't regulate that because it's not a monopoly situation. That's something, unfortunately, the government can't control.